COVID-19 has changed our lives. And now, another change is beginning. At KDI School, a place where you can see and feel a community made of people from different backgrounds. We share stories that connect with you. Experiences that don't exist anywhere else. That is what we're trying to talk to you about. How do we remake our world? Let's talk about new directions for life after COVID-19 and support each other in rebuilding our lives. TEDxKDISchool, August 17. COVID-19 has changed our lives. And now, another change is beginning. At KDI School, a place where you can see and feel a community made of people from different backgrounds. We share stories that connect with you. Experiences that don't exist anywhere else. That is what we're trying to talk to you about. How do we remake our world? Let's talk about new directions for life after COVID-19 and support each other in rebuilding our lives. TEDxKDISchool, August 17. COVID-19 has changed our lives. And now, another change is beginning. At KDI School, a place where you can see and feel a community made of people from different backgrounds. We share stories that connect with you. Experiences that don't exist anywhere else. That is what we're trying to talk to you about. How do we remake our world? Let's talk about new directions for life after COVID-19 and support each other in rebuilding our lives. TEDxKDISchool, August 17. COVID-19 has changed our lives. And now, another change is beginning. At KDI School, a place where you can see and feel a community made of people from different backgrounds. We share stories that connect with you. Experiences that don't exist anywhere else. That is what we're trying to talk to you about. How do we remake our world? Let's talk about new directions for life after COVID-19 and support each other in rebuilding our lives. TEDxKDISchool, August 17.
Everyone is excited here.
Yes, they're excited more than us.
Yes.
So good afternoon, everyone from KDI School of Public Policy and Management, and welcome to TEDxKDISchool. My name is Shahrukh, and I'm from India, and it is my honor and immense pleasure to be here and to listen to the insightful and innovative thought that our speakers have for us. For today's event, I'm here with my friend.
Shahrukh, you forget something. Your beautiful friend.
Okay, yeah.
Please, but say it. My beautiful friend.
My beautiful friend.
Thank you so much, Shahrukh, for that amazing introduction. You also look really handsome today.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Michelle Erazo, and I'm from El Salvador. And next, with Shahrukh, we're going to be your MCs this afternoon. Wow, Shahrukh, it's been a year since we did our very first TEDx. Last year, even if the event was in the middle of the pandemic, it was a huge success. And that's why KDI decided to do another one this year, considering all the things that we've been through during the pandemic.
That is so true. It's unbelievable how we have changed the world in this pandemic since it began back in 2019.
Yeah, Shahrukh, now we're using to wear masks, use sanitizer, and maintain social distance, please. For this, and so many other reasons, we decided that this afternoon theme is going to be, are you ready? I can't barely see your faces. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, I think you already know the theme, but I want to say it even better, like here from the stage. So this afternoon theme, it's Remaking My World. Remaking my world. So, Shahrukh, do you have any idea how you can remake your own world?
No, but I think our speakers and guests over here have a better idea how they have transformed their lives in this last 1 year since the pandemic. And they are here to talk to us about how we can make and remake our world after this pandemic. So today you will hear from students, from professors, and our special guests.
Yes, that's right. But first, I think it's really important to say thank you to all these people who's been working during months to guarantee the success of this event. I have a list, like Santa Claus list. Dean, PR division, the organizing committee, volunteers, professors, and students. Please, yes, they deserve it. Without them, we wouldn't be here. And I hope I'm not missing anyone.
Of course you are missing.
Oops.
And you're missing all the people who are watching us live on our official YouTube channel, all the way from Africa, America, Europe, and Asia, and all over the world.
Yes, probably the time zone is going to be a little bit different. 15 hours in my country, El Salvador. Hi, Mom, I know that you're sleeping right now. A little bit sleepy. You can prepare coffee, bring some snack to the bed, to the sofa, and be ready, because this event, it will be amazing. We have so many surprises for all of you, and so many good speeches.
So what do you guys think? Are we ready to start?
I'm ready. Are you all ready to start? Yes? Great. Okay,
but Michelle, I think you need to introduce our next speaker, because he has a bachelor degree in Spanish.
Oh, wow. So should I introduce him or wait, who is it? Because I don't have an idea who it is.
So should I give you a clue?
Please give me a clue.
Okay, he's a professor.
Okay. And he speaks Spanish, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's here.
You cannot see anyone.
I can't see anyone because I don't have my glasses. Okay, yes, I know who is it. Professor Joshua Merfeld.
Yes, and he is development economist who is interested in applied microeconometrics, labor markets in developing countries, and poverty. He holds a PhD degree from University of Washington. And prior joining to the KDI school, Professor Josh worked at Robert Wagner School of Public Services at New York University.
Today, he's going to present the topic, Gender Gaps in Employment During COVID-19. So let me invite our first speakers to the stage. Bienvenido, Professor Joshua Merfeld.
Let's go down.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Muchas gracias. I'm not going to do this in Spanish. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. My name is Josh Merfeld. I am an assistant professor here at the KDI School of Public Policy and Management. But more importantly than that, I am the proud father of a smart, curious 3.5-year-old little girl. And that's part of what drove my choice of topic today. gender gaps in employment, and specifically how the pandemic has possibly erased a little bit of progress we've made along this topic in the last couple of decades. All right? So I'm from the United States. I'm American. This data right here is from the United States, last 4 or 5 decades. And what this shows you, if you look down the left column, it has percentages. What those percentages are is the average pay for a woman who works relative to a man. So 60% means that the average pay for a woman is 60% of what the average pay for a man is, of everyone who works. And you see back in the 60s and 70s, it was down near 60. There's huge gaps, right? But you also see in the last few decades a pretty good upward trend, right? We're getting better. Equality is a little closer than it was a few decades ago, right? So I have hope that in the future, my daughter will be able to make exactly what anyone else makes, regardless of gender, right? It's not just from the United States. This is from India, right? So kind of the other end of the development spectrum. Maybe not the other end, but a bit on the other side. We see the same thing, right? In India, this comes from a paper I'm working on, we see large gaps in hourly wages for men relative to women. If you actually do this in terms of percentages, like on the last graph, it's almost 60%, the gap, right? It's huge. You can do this for any country, right? Sorry? Do this for any country, right? Even the most equal is not perfectly equal. There are gaps, right? Like I said, I'm American. The United States is quite below average over here on this side, higher gaps than the OECD average. My wife is Korean. We live in Korea. My daughter is half American, half Korean. Korea also not doing so well. So one thing I always worry about is when my daughter's older, is she going to feel discriminated against when she wants to get a job, right? No matter what she chooses, no matter where she lives, there's always this worry I have. Now, the exact reasons for these gaps are many. It's a complicated issue. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I just want to talk about one thing, all right? And that's having children. No matter how much I want to help my wife with childcare, I can never give birth, right? Never. So if we look at what happens to the gaps before women have a child and after they have a child, what do you think it would look like? That's exactly what this is. This is from Denmark. Denmark is one of the more equal countries. So that red line right there, right in the middle of the graph, is the exact time when the first child is born for a man or for a woman, right? The exact time right there. If you look to the left of that line, what do you notice about earnings for these two lines? They're almost the same. Before the first child is born, at least in Denmark, there is no earnings gap between men and women. None. And then that red line, boom. What happens? Earnings for women fall off a cliff. Now, if this were purely biological, you might expect it to go back up and get close to men, at least in the next couple of years. But that doesn't happen. So this has up to 10 years after giving birth. So after the first child, 10 years, right? And they might have another child, but even if they don't, it still stays like this. A pretty substantial gap, right? So there's all sorts of things that drive this. Let me just give you an example from my own everyday life of what I've noticed trying to take my daughter out by myself. So when she was younger and she wore a diaper and we had to change it, right? If I took her out by myself, this was actually in the United States. Sometimes when you need to change them, you're looking for one of those baby changing stations. I'm sure you all know what I mean, even if you've never actually used one. You've seen them. It's usually on a wall, you pull it down, put a baby on it. I cannot tell you the number of times in the US before I moved here that there was a baby changing station, but guess what restroom it was in? The women's. Wasn't in the men's restroom. What am I supposed to do? I can't go in the women's restroom. Well, I shouldn't go in the women's restroom, right? I'm not going to change her on the floor. I don't have a lot of options. Another example, here in Korea, if you've ever been on a highway, maybe you've stopped at a rest stop, right? They have a convenience store, a cafe, some restaurants. They're a bit more lively before COVID. But they also have bathrooms, probably the number one thing people use when they go to the rest stop. And some of them have kid toilets. I don't know if you've ever seen them. There's these little tiny toilets for a kid. Guess which restroom they're in? Sometimes they're only in the women's restroom. So if I am with my daughter alone, I have to take her in the men's restroom and plop her on a big toilet. So everywhere I look, it seems like there's all these signs, not just here in the United States too, telling me I shouldn't be the one out with my daughter. It should be someone else, right? Now, the pandemic. Remember when, at the very beginning, I told you, at least in the US, the last 20 or 30 years, we've seen really big improvements in these gaps? The pandemic might have changed things. You can see that, I don't think I need to point out to you where the pandemic happened here. This is employment. You can see exactly where it happened, right? 2019 to 2020. Right at the beginning of 2020, boom, right off a cliff. Two things I want to show you. First, the blue line is for women. The red is for men. Before the pandemic, they're pretty even. They're generally tracking each other pretty well. During the pandemic, the drop for women was more than 35% higher than for men. They rebounded a little bit, employment did, but they rebounded at the same amount, which means, since the drop for women was larger, that they're now behind where they were before the pandemic started, right? Now, why? I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know the exact reason, but I do have one thing that I keep thinking about whenever I see these statistics. And it's something you've all seen on the news. We're seeing it talked about here in Korea as cases are spiking. Is that in the last year, this thing that's never really happened in any of our lifetimes is that schools have gone fully remote. So kids were learning at home, right? They were learning at home. Now, if your kid is 15 years old, no big deal. A 15-year-old can be at home alone. But if your kid is 7 or 8 and they can't go to school, somebody has to stay home with them. And often, who do you think that is? It's often the mother, right? There's kind of this, I think, societal idea that oftentimes the mother should be the one at home, right? And so the fact that school, especially for young kids, doubles as childcare means if you close schools, I'm not even talking about the education issues of whether you learn well online or not. I don't even mean that. I just mean somebody's got to be there with the little kids, and it's often the mothers. You see this in surveys about housework, chores, that women all over the world have said they're doing a lot more of certain chores during the pandemic, which when you think about the fact that we're all stuck at home, does make sense. And to be fair, men are also doing more chores, right? So this isn't a woman-specific phenomenon. But still, it gets you thinking about this, right? Now, the last graph I want to show you is I want you to focus on that dark blue bar, okay? That dark blue bar is the change in employment for women with children, okay? The far left is spring of 2020. The far right is fall of 2020. So you look at those two blue bars, they're about the same. So for women with children, employment is down about the same spring and fall. It didn't really get better. Now, if you go and you look at any of the other ones for men, the red bars, you'll notice they're getting better. So from spring to fall, employment for men seems to have picked up a bit. But for women, especially women with children, but also women without children, it didn't. So they're at a worse place than they were before the pandemic started with respect to employment, right? And this is something I think about all the time. I think that's a little nerdy, but it's true. I do. And so this leads me to just 3 small points that I want to make. The first is that I feel like too often, this is governments, but I think this is people more generally, we don't recognize the disparate impacts that policies can have, even though the policies seem neutral, right? Closing a school doesn't seem like a gendered policy in any way. But when you think about what it means to close a school and have kids at home, all of a sudden, you can start to think about how this policy decision affects men and women differently, right? And it doesn't have to be gender, even though that's my focus here. It could be race. It could be immigration status. It could be all sorts of things, right? And so what that means is that we might actually need to think about gender-specific policy in order to combat these seemingly neutral policy choices. And the last one, as we actually think about remaking our world and doing something different, is how we might change things like employment policies. More flexibility. This says flexibility for working mothers, but it really should say fathers as well, right? Because if the woman's not taking care of the child, the father needs to. Or you need to find daycare or something like that, right? So things like flexible work, we might see become the norm and might actually help make sure that we don't backslide to where we were a couple decades ago. So I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Merfeld, for that interesting speech. Let's hope we do not ruin the decades of progress after this pandemic.
Muchas gracias. All right, moving forward. Our next speaker is John Atoyebi from Nigeria. He's a lawyer and human rights activist. He has attended human rights training at institutions in Switzerland, France, and South Africa. John was also involved in the Not Too Young to Run movement, which is a group of political conscious young that influenced the reduction of Nigerians' electoral age. And you know something good that happened after this movement is that this gave them the opportunity to contest in Nigerian elections in 2019.
So presenting the topic, Human Before Color, please join me in welcoming John from Nigeria.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is John Kehinde Atoyebi. I'm from Nigeria. I'm a legal practitioner with 10 years standing. The passion to fight for and to work for, to protect human rights of persons motivated me to study law. And I must tell you, it has been an amazing experience for me. But then one of the challenges facing human rights implementation across the world is the issue of racial discrimination. Now I know a lot of us remember the disturbing racial abuse of these 3 English players at the just concluded Euro 2020 tournament. These players were racially abused by fellow footballers and football fans. And the interesting thing is these guys actually were so bold enough to step forward for their country when it mattered most. And let me tell you a short story. This guy putting on jersey number 25, incidentally, is a Nigerian born to Nigerian parents. Yeah, such a crazy thing. Yeah, so in 2018, I attended a training on human rights implementation in Switzerland and France. And as a lawyer, I felt more equipped to challenge all forms of human rights abuse globally. I had a very wonderful experience, I must confess. Had lots of excellent academic experiences through hands-on learning, lunchtime topical issues. We also had intellectually satisfying excursions to places like Geneva, Strasbourg, and a host of other institutions, international institutions in the heart of Europe. But then, as beautiful as my experience was, I had 2 experiences that I can never forget. Yeah. So number 1, the first one was after these activities, and we decided to have a hangout with ourselves, all the participants, and some of the organizers. Then suddenly we started asking each other if we had been to other countries and if we had been to other continents of the world. Then it was the turn of one of the organizers, who incidentally was a doctoral candidate working on the field of human rights implementation. Nice. I was the one that actually asked her the question. So my question to her was, hey, have you been to Africa? But then her response was dumbfounding. I noticed that she started stuttering, and then she started touching her skin in an irritable manner. Hear her. I have not been to Africa. We hear that wild animals walk on the street of Africa, and that one might be attacked. What? And she gave some smiles to really confirm her ignorance and the fact that she was one of those whose minds have been abused, whose minds have been corrupted, and who have been made to attach barbaric things to people of color, especially the blacks. It was actually more shocking to learn after the program, after these activities, that same lady had earlier been reprimanded for suggesting that black participants be put on a separate floor of the housing. Our reason was that other participants might not be comfortable staying with blacks, despite the fact that we had our different rooms. Well, we did lodge a complaint at the end of that day with the school authority, and they did invite us to a meeting officially where they distanced themselves from our views and also tendered apology. Yeah, so number two, let me tell you the second experience. I was at the airport in Zurich to board an early morning flight back to my country, Nigeria, after the program. And obviously, I had to pass the night at the airport. So I decided to sleep on one of the couches with my luggage right beside me. And yeah, so where I was, it was so strategic that when you're coming towards that area, you would meet me before getting to the next passenger. So when others saw that I had gone there to lay my head, a few other passengers also joined me. Then at midnight, I felt someone tap me. And lo and behold, I saw two airport security officers with one other person coming to join them. Well, they demanded to see my luggage, which I obliged. And thereafter, they also asked my travel document, which I also showed them. Then afterwards, while I was expecting them to move to the next person, they turned back and left without checking anyone's papers. What? I was curious. I began to ask myself why I was the only person they had come to meet. But then I quickly remembered that I was the only black guy in that session. Guys, I need to tell you, I felt terribly bad, and I couldn't go back to sleep until the day broke. Yeah, so that was the picture I took. Okay. On the 25th of May, 2020, an all too common occurrence happened, the death of George Floyd at the hands of American police. His death and far too many others are a manifestation of wider problem of racism, police brutality, and inequalities happening globally. Little wonder, on the 1st of June 2020, the whole world rallied against the murder of George Floyd. Outraged protesters from all over the world protested against police brutality, inequalities, and all forms of oppression happening around the world, despite the coronavirus measures that were actually in place at that time. Obviously, the pain people felt for the death of George Floyd was greater than their fear of coronavirus, as it was evidenced by outraged protesters coming out from all over the world to protest against that heinous murder of that innocent man. But then you may ask, why is the reaction so widespread and fierce this time around? Was it the collective human conscience that is deeply hurt, or was it the deeply rooted value of justice for all sensitivity that triggered these global reactions? Well, I think the question we should ask ourselves is whether these lessons have helped to drive home the changes and lessons that we desire as a society in the nearest future. Well, the death of George Floyd, his murder, is just an outcome of centuries of institutionalized and systemic racism, an outcome of racialized inequality, and an outcome of entrenchment of racial supremacy. If humanity wants to deal with this problem, institutions and nations need to change and revise their policies. And then the social media that has been used to fuel racial supremacy should also be used to kill the monster, where we cannot get rid We cannot get over the historical burden of slavery and colonialism, especially for us in Africa and in other places that experienced colonialism. But then the world has changed, and diversity has become a demographic and a political phenomenon that we all need to come to terms with. Without a global revolution in the sphere of women's consciousness, we cannot be any better and will not be able to remake our world. There must be a global revolution that is founded on the truth that colonial racism was invented to justify the inferiority and the unfortunate exploitation of the black people and people of other color. Now, I've come to discover that the issue of racism is not really a biological thing per se, as all humans have the same, we all came from the same race. And as such, there is no gene for whiteness or for blackness or for any other color. Now, have you ever asked yourself whether that person you see as being less of a human being, that person you see as being inferior to you, has less of the things that you have in your body? I mean, the answer is obvious. Now, these explicit issues, I believe, can be dealt with by an appropriate policy measures. Institutions need to come up with policies like KDI presently does, and nations need to also come up with national action plans against racial discrimination. I believe that beyond this issue of explicit issues is the more disturbing dimension of racial discrimination that is rooted in people's minds. I know how it feels to be discriminated against, and the experiences won't leave me. But then let me take this time to appreciate the staff and management of KDI School of Public Policy and Management for really promoting equal right and access to all. I think they deserve some commendation. Thank you. Now, beyond these issues of systemic inequalities in the society, I believe that we need to focus on human mind if we must remake our world. In the words of former Czech president and social reformer, Václav Havel, he said, and I quote, "The salvation of this humanity lies in nowhere else than in human heart, human modesty, human power to reflect, and in human responsibility." As humans, we need to show one another unconditional love. Now, we need to express this love. We need to walk the talk if we want to have a world that is free from racism, oppression, and discrimination. And if we also want to have a future that will be free from conflict and division that inequalities often generate in society. In the word of John Bewin, a journalist and a documentarian, he said, and I quote, "We cannot have a better world if we have a society that frowns at discrimination, oppression, and abuse of anyone." Now, I want to commend us to practice love by adoption of what I call the neighborhood principle. The neighborhood notion simply means that you see everyone that comes your way as your neighbor. Now, when people come to you, the first thing you remember is they are humans. Human before color. I walk the talk. How do I show love? I show love to people by being friendly with everyone that comes my way, and I also try to offer helping hand whenever the need arises. I see everyone as human, and I also see everyone as equally possessing the things that I possess. Now, we need to daily live in the truth of our shared humanity, the truth that every human is sacred, has dignity, and has a right to well-being in this human experience. If you want to remake a world, show love. Show some love to people. When people come to you, don't see color, see human beings, because we are all humans. Humans before color. If we remake our world, individually, we remake the whole world. Thank you very much.
What a powerful speech, Yeon. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Right now, I think is the moment that we have to act, the moment that we should act, and take actions to fight against discrimination.
That is so true, Michelle. But I have a question for you. So tell me, how many countries have you been so far?
I would like to travel more, but I think so far I've been in Guatemala, Costa Rica, and also in United States, and here, Korea.
So, well, I'm asking you this question because our next speaker, we have a multilingual travel enthusiast, and she has been more than been to more than 25 countries, and speaks more than 5 languages.
Whoa.
Can you imagine it?
Oh my God, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
And currently, she's handling a project by the UN focusing on data science and the SDGs.
Interesting. Presenting the topic, how can we prevent bullying using the power of cultures? Please welcome Ms. Hajeong to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hajeong, and I am MPP student in KDI. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure you've heard Permission to Dance from BTS, which is the most famous boy band, right? This song uses sign language to make choreography, and the song's message is eliminating discrimination and overcoming obstacles. And this song spreads the courage to love ourselves. Yes, I'm here today to talk about the culture of bullying. And at the same time, I want to talk about 2 things to prevent and heal the culture of bullying, for using the power of culture and the importance of mind training. We can see and experience lots of discrimination, like something like discrimination in workplaces and discrimination in gender disabilities. Yes, and bullying culture is directly or indirectly in our lives. In our general society, gender discrimination, bullying culture, discrimination in workplaces, relationships are rampant. And the bullying's emerging as a social problem. According to a survey from the OECD, 1 in 5 people report being bullied once in their lifetime. Isn't it too much? And the reasons for being bullied report that's because of their general disability and experience of physical appearance, race, ethnicity, and religion, and sexual orientations. Bullying can look like experienced basketball players intimidating novice players off the court, and kids repeatedly stigmatizing classmates for their differences of appearance. Or a middle school girl suddenly being insulted or excluded by their group of friends. Families matter too. Bullying in schools sometimes arises from harsh parenting practices or even bullying siblings at home. Even parents' workplaces matter. Adults experience bullying at about the same place as children in school. And it's even found in teachers and in senior living communities. In other words, bullying is not just a childhood problem. It is a pervasive human problem. That's because bullying can occur to everyone, and it is so hurtful to everyone who involved, from the targets of the bullies to the witnesses and the bullies themselves. Unfortunately, I also experienced indirect bullying when I was in high school. In the class where I was the class president, there was a time a few were bullied and bullied for no reason. We all take the ideas and experiences we've had into all of our interactions, into all of our workplaces, into all aspects of our lives. We all know all of our experiences shaped who we are. But what if it tells us you can't belong in a crowd? What if we don't have any good experiences in society? And what if we get into serious problems like depression or like violence in many places? And what if this experience tells you you are being bullied? That's because just you are you. Our experience tells us how our life is valued. And not just that, but also that we belong or do not belong to a community in society itself. And so importantly right now, the experience must make it clear that they belong. The experience must make it clear that that the safety of minorities and anyone who may be vulnerable is a right, not a privilege. A right that they will be respected by the community, that they will be believed supports to us. A community that recognizes that one person's safety is violated, everyone feels their own safety is violated. So back to my experience in my school days. The class was not united at all due to the division of sides. So I could also feel how unstable and awkward the situation was in our class. Among the many problems, I was particularly worried about the sports day. Without a doubt, this sports day competition was the most traditional and important event in our school. And the rewards were so great. So everybody wanted to get that, including me. But the problem was we need to participate. We should participate in every single class. We had to be one team. But I thought it was impossible at that moment. So I could no longer tolerate seeing this discord among students. I wanted to push us into one goal. I want to push us into one role. So I suggested, how about separating each one of us into a goal, into a role? Because someone was very good at makeup, and someone was very good at making a stylish outfit, and someone was very good at being a team manager, and someone was very good at song lyrics. And it was totally challenging, but we put all of our effort into it. During the time when we laughed and sweated all together, the conflict between friends gradually decreased, and amazingly, we got the first place. It was just a miracle, I thought. And I've got great memories and ideas through my personal experience. We've seen the cultural impact of BTS, and actually, this is just one of the great examples of the power of culture. And culture could heal those who are in difficult and challenging situations, not just students, but adults in general, people like us in our workplaces. I knew that the key to overcoming this discrimination and bullying culture was the power of culture. But I couldn't think about easily the impact of the specific way. And then I literally came up with an idea with my school experience mentioned earlier from Finland. In Finland, they have a course of mind training. In this course, they will be shared their own opinions and share their problems among students. And they will be learn how much is valid for their differences through cultural activities under the supervision of psychologists or psychotherapists. And the core of this course is to conduct classes using culture. For example, taking part in dance challenge, like what I did, and watching movies and drama pedagogy, and making their own roles in a specific way, and then sharing their opinions and thinking about. I often hear from my friends, especially, that I'm kind of vitamin. And personally, this is one of my favorite compliments to hear. And you know, energy is contagious. If you're in a positive situation, it's easy to be happy. But if you're in a negative situation, it's not easy to be happy. Like I experienced when I was in school. Like I tried to give a specific role to be a special team members. You have to focus your strengths and the things you do love about yourself. Because I promise you, when you focus on your strengths, the things you do love about yourself is always outweigh all these negative things. Where would you be if every single time you wanted to do something, but someone just told you you can't do it? You always listen to them. So I always want you to have that in your mind, that like, am I going to let it affect me, or let it sink me, or let it elevate, or drive me? Because in life, life deals as a deck of cards. You may think your deck of cards is amazing. You may think your deck of cards is mediocre. You may think your deck of cards is very bad. But it's our duty to play that hand to the best of our ability. If you agree, please just say yes. What that means is we have to focus on our strengths. We've got to focus on the things we have. We should know the difference between wrong and different and learn how to be considerate of each other. And so the irrational discrimination naturally disappears and the heartbreak is healed. I'm sure that we will be able to heal the deep-rooted culture of bullying through the power of culture and mind training. The Academy Award-winning actress Meryl Streep is one of my favorite actresses, and she said, "The instinct to humiliate when it's modeled by someone who is in the public eyes, by someone powerful, that filters down to everyone's life, because it kind of gives permission for other people to do the same thing. Disrespect invites disrespect. Violence invites violence. When the powerful use their position to bully others, we all lose. Love myself is not just for me, but for others. If we do love ourselves, then we know that all others are so precious gold. And I hope everyone has permission to love." Thank you so much.
What an insightful speech you gave us, Hajeong. I never realized how powerful a weapon culture is to prevent bullying.
Right, Shahrukh, and something that I would like to add after here, Miss Anne, about this big issue, the bullying, is that pulling someone down will never reach you to go to the top. So just please consider this. All right, Shahrukh, I prepared so many questions for you. So here's the second one, right?
Yes.
The second one, okay. Shahrukh, what do you do in your free time?
So in my free time, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube.
So that means that you don't go to the library. Ah, interesting.
So I go to the library and I watch YouTube videos.
Ah, about what? The football, like Neymar, Messi? Messi is really famous, right?
Yeah, Messi is very famous, but I love Ronaldo.
Oh, okay. But, okay, now we know that every time that we see Shahrukh in the library, he's watching videos, okay? Thank you for the information. Well, I'm asking you this because our next speaker, he's really famous. He's a YouTuber. His channel, JK Out, has 1.35 million of subscribers and videos with more than 20 million of views. Can you believe that?
That is exciting.
Yeah, he's famous. He makes videos about cultural difference and diversity to spread positive vibes. He believes the best way to convince people is to show them what they like with a little pinch of the message he tries to portray.
So, wow, that's really, really impressive, Michelle.
Yes.
And so let me introduce Jay from JK Out with the topic, A Little Wider View.
Thank you.
All right. So hi, my name is Jay, and I make videos on my YouTube channel called JK Out. First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. My speech today will be about who I am, what I do, how I've changed throughout my journey on YouTube, and how I want to spread good vibes with the things I do. Putting that aside, I'll introduce myself in more details. Hi, my name is Yeon, and I have a YouTube channel called JK Out. On my channel, I make interviews, social experiments, documentaries, and so on. And I try to deal with subjects, topics related to culture and diversity. And throughout my video and throughout the things I do, I try to spread good vibes, which is also my slogan for my channel and for my life, I guess. My life motto, spread good vibes. To be honest, I'm not a funny person. I can't make people laugh, but I like to make people smile. I'm not sure if I'm good at it, but I like seeing smiles, and I like to smile myself. And I love these heartwarming vibes that you get from those warm videos. So that is the vibe, the good vibes that I want to spread through my videos. Most of my subscribers, or you guys, or people watching this video would know my channel with this video, talking to top 1% Korean students in English. It was a social experiment I did on Seoul National University, which is where the top 1% Korean students go to. I randomly talked to students there, asking for directions or for help in English. It was a video to test out if they were actually good at English or not, but also to see if they would help out a lost foreigner, which was me, right there, wearing a beanie. And thankfully, all of them were super, super helpful and were super good at English. And I think that's why I got over 20 million views with this one single video. I don't know how I did it, but yeah, it is what it is. So thank you so much to those who watched the video. And along with this video, here are some of the other videos that I made that went sort of viral. Old man with Alzheimer's on barefoot. Struggling person in a wheelchair on a crosswalk. What it's like to be a gay couple in Korea. Minors asking adults to get alcohol and cigarettes for them. I'm pretty sure now you guys will understand what kind of videos I make and what message I'm trying to portray with my videos. I make videos about culture and diversity. And because I touch on subjects like culture and diversity, I started to touch on the subjects or the topics that is not often discussed here in Korea or spoken out loud in Korea. I began to talk about people who are on a wheelchair, people who are blind, people who are deaf. I made videos about abandoned animals, stray dogs, stray cats. I made videos about kids, elders, homeless people, or LGBTQ, and so much on. To be honest, I wasn't that really aware of these kind of somewhat heavy, unfamiliar issues. And I wasn't that interested, to be honest. But the reason I keep on pushing myself to cover more topics like this, more unfamiliar, heavy topics like this, is because I know for a fact that every time I touch on a new subject like this, I am learning so much more than just making a single video. Hanging around with people from different backgrounds and merging into their culture, learning about their culture, finding out that a lot of elders still are, at that age, are dreaming to become someone. Realizing that a lot of people, including myself, don't know how to act around people with disabilities. And learning homeless people are people not without homes, but people without peace in their minds. From the moment I realized that what it seems and what it really is not quite the same, I became a fan of learning, experiencing these differences. Becoming a part of a culture I wasn't a part of, exploring a world that is different from mine, listening to different people's different lives. I think this is what Remaking My World is about. Every time I cover a new topic, a new subject, or a new group of people, more and more I cover these differences, I can feel my vision of the world getting a little wider and a little wider. And I love feeling this thing, seeing the world a little bit wider. I love this feeling. And I think this is the reason why I do YouTube, why I make videos like this, to remake my world. Or I should say, to make my world into a bigger one. This is a message that I got after uploading a video called, "Do you know what your mother wanted to become?" It was a simple video. I went out on the streets of Korea, Apgujeong, and asked pedestrians, "Do you know what your mother wanted to become? Do you know what your mother dreamed of when she was a child?" This video was about how moms usually end up giving up their dreams for their family. I thought to myself, do I know what my mother wanted to become? And the answer was no. So I asked her, and she told me that she wanted to work in the fields of art. And the conversation that we had, the moment was so precious. And I wanted people to feel what I felt. So I went out on the streets, asked people if they knew what their mother wanted to become. Some knew, some didn't. And then I uploaded the video. And this is a message that I got after uploading the video. Hi, Jay. I am a 48 years old woman from Singapore. I chanced upon your video a couple days ago. I have enjoyed all your experiments. They are well thought of and thought-provoking. Thank you. I am particularly touched by What's Your Mom's Dream interview. As a mom who also gave up my dreams at the peak of my career and aged to care for my children, you made me cry watching the video. Although I am 48 years old now, I plan to start living my life again from where I stopped 15 years ago. And like the guy at the end of the video, my kids are super supportive of whatever dream I want to pursue. Thanks for that video especially, because not many youth stop to think and realize that their moms were young once too and had dreams like they do. As a mother myself, I am so proud of you, Jay. Continue to do what you're doing. The message was so heartwarming, and yeah. Well, after I got this message, I was very, very grateful. This lady watched my video, appreciated it, and wanted and told me that she gained courage to follow her dreams again. She told me that she wanted to dream again after seeing my video. I guess my video sort of influenced her. Having someone really appreciate something I do and having someone actually taking whatever they felt, learned, into action, that's something I want to hear for the rest of my life. I got this message a couple years ago, but whenever I'm feeling down, I come back to this message and read it once more. I always thought I was making videos for myself to make my world. But after I got this message, along with other comments similar to this, I thought, I guess I could remake other people's world by remaking my world. I wish I could share the lessons that I've learned making these videos and remake other people's world. And with the lessons and videos that I make, I want to spread good vibes, just like my slogan of the channel. Trying to see the things beyond what it seems to be, and seeing, accepting the difference and appreciating it. These are a couple of the lessons that I learned throughout my journey on YouTube, and I guess this is why I make videos like I do. I'm really grateful for the fact that I am actually having fun doing this. I am actually having fun with the process. I love working. Just like how my journey making my world ended up with making other people's world, I believe remaking my world isn't remaking my own world. We're all individuals and we're all different, but at the same time, we are all connected and the same. Humans are all different, but we all share a little bit of similarities no matter who you are. Whether you intend or not, we influence each other. So wherever, whoever you are, I believe we can all take part in making our world. This was Jay of JKL. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jay. After hearing from you, we really want to make our own YouTube channel now.
Yes, I should. Which name we can have for our YouTube channel?
So you have any suggestions?
Well, I think it needs to represent our culture, right? So what about curry and pupusas?
Wow, that's a very good name. So, Jay, we need a shout out from you.
Please, can you help us with the videos and subscribe our channel? So, for those who don't know, pupusas is the national dish from El Salvador. Are really, really good, and I'm really missing right now to eat some.
So, and I think so. You guys know curry?
Curry, yes, of course, from India.
Yeah.
But please do subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes. And moving on to the next performance is a song by our amazing singer from our very own KDI school. And she had a passion for singing when she was very young. and she participated in many festivals throughout her studying years.
Please help me to welcome Omaima El Fatimi from Morocco with the song Never Enough by Lord and Ulrich.
Thank you.
I'm trying to hold my breath, let it stay this way. Can't let this moment end. You set off a dream in me, getting louder now. Can you hear it echoing? Take my hand, will you share this with me? 'Cause darling, without you, all the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we steal from the night sky will never be enough, never be enough. Towers of gold are still too little. These hands could hold the world, but it'll never be enough, never be enough for me. Never, 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 never for me, for me. Never enough, never enough, never enough for me, for me, for me. All the shine of 1,000 spotlights, all the stars we see from the night sky will never be enough, never be enough. Towers of gold are still too little. These hands could hold the world, but it'll never be enough, never be enough for me. Never, 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 never. Never enough, never enough, never enough for me, for me, for me. For me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Omaima. What a wonderful performance.
After that performance, I think we should just go.
Yes.
I wish to be a good singer like you, but only my roommate in the bathroom hear me sing. And then I hope that no one hears me
So you
sing.
mean you are a bathroom singer?
A professional one. Dear guests, we have come to the end of our first session. Now we will have 15 minutes break. Please don't forget to maintain social distance.
And I can't wait to find out what will happen in the next session. I'm excited to hear the more interesting and innovative talks that we have from our remaining speakers. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy your break.
Enjoy your break. Thank you.
See you soon. Dear guests, please have a seat as the second session will commence soon.
Welcome back. I believe everyone had a really good break. I see
Some seats still
some
empty.
empty seats still. We can talk.
So,
we
like-
can talk between each other right now. How was your break?
Very good. Like,
Yeah,
I got a
it was
photograph with the dean.
Me too. And when Jay too.
Yes, with
He
the
said
J.
that he's gonna help us with the YouTube channel.
So he probably give us a shout out.
Yes, that's what we need. Please, all the people who is outside, join us because we are excited to start the second session. We have
yeah.
so many good speeches.
I request everyone to be seated.
Yeah. And make yourself comfortable again. Yes. You eat something?
No, actually, like, I had a bottle of water.
Just water? Yes. But we're really, I'm starving. We should go to eat some Indian food after.
True, like, we should
Yes.
go.
With curry, right?
Like, you should cook some pupusas today.
Well, that's a problem here. I tried before to cook pupusas here, but they don't have the ingredients, so that's the problem.
But you have Indian curry
but
here.
if one day you go to El Salvador, I promise that I will take you to eat pupusas, like real pupusas, because I'm not a good cooker, okay?
Okay, sure. I'm going to El Salvador now.
Yes, let's go to El Salvador. So I think we are ready to start. The first speaker for our second session is someone that you might know if you're a KDI student.
Yes, and it's Professor Hajeong, and she currently serves as a managing director of the International Cooperation and Capacity Building at KDI School. And she also is the head of Global Development Learning Network Global Secretariat, which has its origin in the World Bank, and Global Network Knowledge Sharing Organizations.
Considers professor's topic, communicating during a pandemic. This afternoon, we're not going to have her here on the stage, but join me to play her video and see her amazing speech.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Not surprisingly, Merriam-Webster, the dictionary publisher, picked the word pandemic as its word of the year for 2020. We have been living in this pandemic, defined by Merriam-Webster as an outbreak of a disease that occurs over a wide geographic area and typically affecting a significant proportion of the population, for well over a year now. It's changed everything. Every aspect of our lives, including the way we communicate, has been completely upended. The pandemic has shown us that effective communication can literally save millions of lives, and a breakdown in communication, along with the spread of misinformation and disinformation, can cause many more to perish. As someone who teaches how to more effectively communicate, especially in a public policy context, I'm keen to better understand what helps facilitate communication and what causes it to break down. If this past year has taught us anything, it's that these breakdowns in communication can cause deeper gaps for vulnerable populations that aggravate our fight against the pandemic and can prove even more deadly. But communication in general is hard. It's not easy. We suffer from failed marriages, lost businesses, election defeats, and broken friendships when we are not capable of effectively communicating our messages to our intended and sometimes unintended audiences and markets. But add the challenges of communicating during a global pandemic with populations learning on the fly how to combat the virus, the likelihood of communication breaking down or being swept up in the storm of an infodemic is high. The World Health Organization called the infodemic one of the biggest challenges in fighting this pandemic. As defined by the WHO, an infodemic is too much information, including false or misleading information in digital and physical environments during a disease outbreak. It causes confusion and risk-taking behaviors that can harm health. It also leads to mistrust in health authorities and undermines the public health response. The OECD issued a report noting with such an onslaught of conflicting information competing for audiences' finite attention spans, especially young audiences, that increasing the volume of official information is not enough, nor is it necessarily effective. The content needs to be more compelling and delivered via various preferred channels, including social media. The messaging also needs to take into consideration their behavioral and psychological biases. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, we've seen how failed public messages can aggravate a country's COVID-19 response. For example, let's take a look at the issue of wearing masks in the United States. Even though the recognized authorities were issuing recommendations or guidelines, even mandates, these messages were being ignored or outright disobeyed by certain segments of a population. We saw many incidents in the US of people decrying that their freedom was being infringed upon because they were being mandated to wear masks in public places or businesses. It also had the misfortune of becoming politicized. So when people saw their community leaders questioning the efficacy of wearing a mask to prevent the spread of the virus, they were encouraged further to not comply. It also didn't help that the recognized authority on the matter, the WHO and US public health authorities, flip-flopped on the matter, advising the public at the onset of the pandemic not to wear masks, and then later on advising them to. The lack of consistency and unity from our leaders in our messaging leads to a loss of credibility, crippling the effectiveness of the message and the likelihood of compliance. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, we have New Zealand's Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, who has been praised for her effective communication skills in helping her country ward off COVID-19. The Atlantic described her leadership style as being focused on empathy, and her messages as being clear, consistent, and somehow simultaneously sobering and soothing. Gary Neusner, a former chief of the FBI Crisis Negotiation Unit and author of Stalling for Time, explains that using science or the law or politics won't stop those who don't intend to comply to these regulations. We need to influence their behavior, and we do so by creating a respectful and trusting relationship. And this is done by staying calm, patient, and understanding and acknowledging their points of view, and asking them to consider thinking a little differently. In other words, by being empathetic. We're fighting an uphill battle when it comes to this pandemic and the infodemic that thwarts our progress and instigates our communication breakdowns. We must continue to raise awareness of the deadly nature of misinformation that fuels an infodemic. To combat misinformation, we need to engage with those who are already skeptical and address their existing perceptions, reinforce critical thinking skills so our students can discern reliable sources among the growing prevalence of information sources with blurred origins and intentions. I'm relieved to see a growing level of coordinated efforts among multilateral organizations and advocacy groups to fight against an infodemic, which some experts claim to be deadlier than the actual pandemic. To ensure more effective communication during a time of crisis and in general, remember to keep your messages consistent, clear, and credible. When we flip-flop on our messaging, we lose our credibility and inevitably our audience's trust. Build a rapport with your audience so there is trust and understanding. Building public trust increases the likelihood of compliance with public health recommendations. Express empathy to help open those channels of communication with groups who are likely to disagree or not comply. Understanding who they are and why they are predisposed to certain beliefs will help tailor your message to better resonate with them. Facts, figures, and evidence can only do so much, as we've seen not only since this pandemic, but also as we continue to fight climate change. The stakes are high, so we need to do what we can to assure that what we say, who says it, and how it's delivered is effective in terms of reaching people and motivating them to act and change their behavior for the better. Now it can be literally the matter of life or death. This past year has given us many lessons on how we can do better going forward. We all need to do our part in reimagining our respective worlds to a place where words like infodemic and pandemic can remain in our dictionaries but listed as obsolete and no longer commonly used. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yeon, for that informative speech about the communication during the COVID era. So we all need to improve our communications and then make an impact on the society to make a point.
Shahrukh, I told you that I have so many questions for you, but I think this one is the most important one. You know that we are really friends, right?
Yes.
So this question is going to define our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you like the Beatles?
Yes, I listen to their songs, and I know that they have a song on your name, Michelle.
Yes, they have. Michelle, Mabel, something like that. So you know that my mom called me Michelle because of that song. She also likes a lot the Beatles. Just like our next speaker, his parents gave him the name in honor of Paul McCartney, the Beatles star. Yes.
That's impressive.
You told me also that your name it was for someone famous in India, right?
Yeah, he's an actor, Shahrukh Khan.
Really, really creative. Well, let me tell you more about our next speaker. His name is Paul Zarate, and he's from Ecuador. He's a person who is passionate to learn, understand people's life, and share his knowledge to make the world a better place. Paul is also an entrepreneur who won a national contest for innovative business ideas at the age of 21. Without realizing his business idea was related to climate change, and this became the beginning of his interest in this topic. His purpose is to help to save the world by proposing a new approach to industrial development by caring for the environment.
With the topic, Complicate Yourself to Save the World, let's welcome Paul with a warm applause.
Thank you. Paul, ¿de verdad te gusta complicarte a ti mismo? Or in English, Paul, you really like to complicate yourself. Yes, that is a phrase I have heard so many times in my life. And I always wondered what I'm doing wrong. But looking back to my life, now I can understand why people used to and still say that to me. Analyzing my success and failures, now I can say that, yes, I'm a person who likes to complicate myself. But wait, not in a negative way, all the contrary. You know, when you try to do something new, something innovative, something to make an impact, you are supposed to go out your comfort zone. You are supposed to think outside the box. To get in some trouble, you are supposed to complicate yourself. Just as the way I am doing right now, standing in front of you, trying not to shock myself, trying to convince you that we have the power to change. So you see, there is nothing wrong to begin this way. In fact, humankind needs that kind of people. Otherwise, our subsistence is not guaranteed. For that reason, today, I'm here to tell you how and why people who like to complicate themselves can remake and save the world. You might be thinking, save the world from what? Let's talk about climate change. I know. Climate change might sound cliché, repetitive, and even tiresome, since it's a topic I'm pretty sure we all have seen or heard on the news, and more often on social media. But believe me, climate change is an important topic. I would say it's the most relevant topic for the 21st century. But still, some people are ignoring it. Let's be honest, please. Raise your hand, and from the people who is watching on YouTube, comment if today you have thought about climate change. Today. It's okay. Even me, I didn't know anything about climate change just until a few months ago. In fact, let me share a fun fact about me. The first time I heard about climate change was in the school, when my professor for natural science talked about acid rain. So, acid rain, I thought, as an imaginative and curious kid I thought, okay, if I go out, my skin will melt and I will die. But fortunately, it didn't happen. But that crazy idea coming from the mind of a little kid, today is not too far away from being true. There is current data saying that acid rain can actually kill you. I mean, acid rain is not going to melt your skin, but when water drops and hits your body or the floor, it delivers gases toxins that can actually kill you. So you see? But me and while I was researching about this topic, I wondered, so if acid rain is dangerous, why we don't see or hear that topic in the news? I wondered, maybe we found a solution. But guess what? We haven't. Acid rain is still here, and it's even worse than before. The thing is, humankind is facing another types of crisis. Like, for example, look at this picture. These are floods in China, where hundreds of people died. Riots in Iran. People are screaming, I am thirsty, since there is no water, because of lack of rain. In some parts of this country can easily reach 50 Celsius degrees. Look at these pictures. Fires in Siberia and Greece. Hundreds of people have been displaced. Hundreds of hectares of forest has been destroyed. Floods in Germany and Belgium. Dozens of people have been killed and displaced. Now, look at this picture. This is the comparison of Greenland in just 4 days. As you can see, almost 98% of the ice melt. This water delivering from this can easily cover all the territory in Korea, up to 10 centimeters. Can you imagine that? Now, this news is talking about 1 billion sea creatures has been killed in their own ecosystem, has been cooked because simple water is too hot. So you know what is even more shocking about these events? Knowing that all of this just happening just a few weeks ago. And we can spend hours talking about this disaster. So, why people still don't care? It's because actually we focus our attention in another topics. And let me give you an example. On August 9, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released one of the most important reports on climate change in the modern history. But the same day, the news were trending about Lionel Messi leaving Barcelona. Can you guess which news got the most attention? That's right, Messi leaving Barcelona. So I don't have anything against soccer. In fact, I love soccer. But sometimes we need to focus on what is really important. So, what we can do to solve this? Let me share a history with you. What you need to be clear about this report are two things. First, climate temperature is increasing even faster than we thought. So right now, at the current temperatures, we just saw some disaster that is happening. Can you guess what will happen in the following years with the temperatures increase? Second thing, humans are the only responsible for climate change. In the past, we used to believe that some natural phenomena also contribute to climate warming. But no. Humans, with every action that we do, we deliver to the atmosphere greenhouse gases. That are the main cause for climate change. Also, what we need to be clear is, accordingly to the initiative Climate Club, we just have 6 years, 136 days, 18 hours, 6 minutes, 23, 22, 21 seconds to do something, to act. Otherwise, the planet will reach a point of no return. So, what we can do again? In this picture, in May of this year, I have the opportunity to participate in one of the most important events on climate change in Korea. I have the opportunity to meet amazing people from all around the world. And we discussed days, hours, what we can do to solve the climate change crisis. And we concluded that simple actions are the best. Also, in this program, I have the opportunity to meet, to listen, and to deliver a very short speech in front of Mr. Ban Ki-moon, former UN General Secretary. To be honest, right now I'm feeling more nervous than that day, but it's impossible to me to forget one phrase from Mr. Ban Ki-moon. We are the first generation that can end poverty and the last that can end climate change. So this phrase is powerful because it's giving you and me the responsibility to do something. But again, what we can do. You know, it's very curious to know that the possibility of the human extinction can still be solved with simple actions. So I have good news for you. We can solve the climate change crisis, but we have to act quickly. We have to act pali-pali. So what we can do? We can start for simple actions, like for example, stop demanding products that generate too much plastic. Also, when we go out, we can carry our tumbler, for example, when we go for a coffee shop. Also, stop consuming bottled water. If we have the opportunity to refill our bottle, do it. Other simple action, demand products that are environmentally friendly. Like for example, the clothes I'm wearing right now has been manufactured with recycling products. So when I just arrived to this place, many people ask me, please change, are you going to present this way? And I said, yes, because the planet needs this. Simple. So, the purpose of this speech is not to lecture you about climate change. But if you are going to remember something from this, please, I want you to take away that we still have time to change, but we should start for ourselves. Change our daily habits. But I know it's not easy. As Mr. Mandela said, one of the most difficult things is not to change society, but to change yourself. That's right. For that reason, I'm asking you, please, it is our time for Complicate yourself, to change our daily habits, to change the way we have been living for so many years, for remake our world. Just this way, and this way, we can say that in the future, it will be a planet for our loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. After hearing you, I do want to complicate myself in order to save the planet.
And I also think like we should all give this issue the importance that it deserves.
Yes.
And we have to complicate ourselves because there is no plan B and because there is no planet B.
Exactly.
So moving on to our next talk, we would like to invite Abel Shelton, also a KDI student from Liberia. He established Aptoro Management Services, a small business aimed at bridging the poorly served outsourced industries in Liberia. So while offering compliances and audit training to prospective university graduates.
Yes, and I also want to add that Abel Shelton is a really good football player, but today he's going to change the football field to the stage, from the stage, and he's also going to change the balloon for a microphone. So please join me to welcome Abel Shelton with the topic, the missing piece in the fight against corruption and bad governance. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I have to say hello to everybody. I understand the program is being live streamed. And I'd like to apologize to Paul. I'm wearing a suit. I'm not sure how it was made, but I may have to check with him later to see if I can get some recycled suit. You've already heard the theme, the missing piece in the fight against corruption and bad governance. My name is Abel Shelton. In 2016, a close friend of mine informed me about a scholarship opportunity. It was a prestigious, coveted, and an extremely competitive opportunity. Now, I still had about a few weeks before the application deadline, and I had taken time to write out my essays and collated all my documents. But then I realized that as part of the requirements, I could not submit my academic documents without an attestation from the Commission on Higher Education and a notary stamp from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Liberia. The cost of obtaining these two documents was about US $50 or thereabout. And so with a relatively little time remaining, I anxiously embarked on the process. I first visited the office of the commission. It was a Thursday morning. It was rainy, but it was also very humid. And there must have been about 25 students trying to get this attestation for different reasons. And I was there amongst them, present. I was seated, uneasy, perspiring profusely, visibly anxious. Then came the time for the civil servant in charge to explain the process to us. He strutted to the front of the assembly, and he started to speak while concurrently scanning the crowd with his eyes. And I suppose that this officer must have perfected his craft over several years, because by the end of his speech, he had so very easily discerned who amongst us was pressed against time and urgently needed this document. So he pulled me and the three other anxious students to the side, and he offered to help us to get the documents as urgently as each of us needed it. but only if we pay him $100 US. Now, that's about 4 times more than the actual cost of obtaining the document. And to be very honest with you, if I had the money, I definitely would have paid, but I didn't have it. But I was sad, and of course furious at the same time. This is an example of corruption. And yes, that is how it makes a person feel. Violated, powerless, and angry. Now, I acknowledge that for most of us, this subject has either become a cliche or it has somewhat become relentlessly tedious to hear because once too often, it has been deliberated on with no clear solution in sight. And that is why it is necessary we remind ourselves that the only solution to this cancer, corruption and bad governance, has been the same for many years: to build strong institutions. Brilliant idea. Several countries around the world, including Denmark, Finland, New Zealand, and Singapore, to name a few, have all commendably made significant strides in building strong institutions to fight corruption and to dissuade bad governance, while other nations, mostly poor and developing, are still encountering impediments in this fight. And this leads me to wonder, why has strong institutions become successful in some countries in the fight against corruption and bad governance, but far less effective or virtually non-existent in other countries such as mine? Why has corruption in my country and others like it become substantially endemic? Why is it extensively encouraged and freely practiced? I believe, amongst other reasons, that we have failed in overcoming this endemic monster because of the scarcity of individual commitment and action, or the lack thereof. Individual commitment and action. It is this missing piece that has either been ignored or not sufficiently talked about. This is what must complement strong institutions in order for them to work. Institutions do not run themselves, neither do policies implement themselves. The variable, which is essential when complementary, is the people, the individuals. You see, while the fight against corruption and bad governance is a collective responsibility, the foundational strength of institutions stems from individual actions and commitment, such that even if a country has all the adequate policies towards strengthening institutions, without individual commitment and action, those institutions will either crumble or they will never work as best and effectively as they should, if they work at all. And here's an example as it relates to my country regarding this thing. You see, I'm from Liberia. Now, Liberia is a small country stretching about 43,000 square miles along the coast of West Africa. Some of you may remember Liberia because of the horrifying accounts of the 14-year fratricidal civil conflict that took the lives of some 250,000 men, women, and children. Or some of you may also remember Liberia because of the legendary soccer player George Weah, who went on to become the only African to receive the World Best Player Award. But in any case, what I can tell you for certainty is Liberia is an extremely beautiful and endowed nation with great landscape, advantageously blessed with a youthful and vibrant population. If there is anything policy experts who love about my country, it is that we have exciting policies on paper to support the building and existence of strong institutions. But in the same Liberia, institutions are effective and corruption takes on several different forms, from paying bribes to sextortion to siphoning of public funds, amongst others. In the same Liberia, corruption is embraced, it is applauded, and it is defended by those who perpetrate it and by those who receive benefits from the perpetrators. It is considered as a means to get ahead in the competition, to get the next government contract, to maneuver towards obtaining the next scholarship, to not waste your time in traffic or in a passport queue. Like most countries, the policies are in place, the institutions are existent, but corruption is the norm. Why? Because there is a missing piece to the puzzle: the lack of individual commitment and action to complement strong institutions. And that begs the question, how then can we develop and demonstrate individual commitment to complement strong institutions in the fight against corruption? Now, I know most of you here, some listening, you may be policy experts and you're policy enthusiasts, so I can imagine you're probably thinking about some explosive policy suggestions. I don't know what they are, but I can tell that they're brilliant ones. But no, many of those have already been explored. My recommendations today are very simple because they involve you as an individual. I recommend two things that we can do to demonstrate individual commitment to and action to tackling corruption. The missing piece. 1, develop patience and avoid procrastination. How does this relate to corruption? Irrelevant, you may think. Let's try and put this into context. Think about my story at the beginning of this talk. Like most students preparing for international scholarships, I could have obtained my documents way in advance, immediately after my graduation. I should have, but I didn't. I procrastinated. And consequently, this civil servant who was in charge, he could very easily request a bribe from me because he knew that I was pressed against time and that I was anxious and impatient, trying to get things done as quickly as possible. And this is how we create opportunities for perpetrators to practice their craft. But think about this. What if I had individually committed to regularizing my documents way ahead of the time of the application, not waiting till the last minute before starting the process? Don't you agree that my commitment would have diminished the chances for corruption to be practiced in that context? By our simple individual actions, we can complement institutions in the fight against corruption. Number 2, speak about corruption and educate others about it. Now, you see, where silence toward corrupt acts is normalized, corruption not only flourishes, but it is also encouraged. And this is also true about my country and many others like it. Corruption has existed in Liberia from the inception of our history, worsening with every or each successive government. Eventually, people became reluctant to talk about it because it had gone on for so long that it now became considered customary for public officials of every new government to steal with impunity, for police officers to openly exploit citizens they are charged to protect, or for ordinary citizens to maneuver with trickery and extortion. They will quote a Liberian proverb to substantiate the normalcy of the act. They will say something like this: where you tie the goat is where it will eat. Now, you may not understand what it means, but in plain English, it is translated to mean a person is allowed to use his office to accumulate wealth for himself. It's true that speaking about corruption and educating others about it may not entirely alter the behavior of the culprits, but one thing is certain: it will engender righteous indignation from the youth and much of the population. And this was most recently demonstrated in Liberia sometime in 2020 with the emergence of a pressure group called the Council of Patriots. Now, they're now one of the largest advocacy groups in Liberia with thousands of individual Liberians, patriotic ones. Using social media platforms and a local talk show, members of this group spoke against corruption and bad governance unending for several months. As a result, they stimulated righteous anger and about corruption and bad governance on a national scale. They kickstarted a nationwide conversation about it, and they oversaw the largest protest in the history of the country against corruption and bad governance. The work of this group showed that the more we talk about corruption, the more abnormal it becomes. And the more abnormal it becomes, the more uncomfortable the perpetrators become. And this is why I have renewed faith in my country and others like it. Today in Liberia, people are angrier about corruption and bad governance and its accompanying culture of impunity than they have ever been at any point in our country's history. And this spirit of optimism that I have is one of hope that is sparked by the engagement of young people. Now, ever since my encounter with the corrupt official that I talked about at the beginning of this talk, I have remade my world and ensured that I do not create any opportunity for corruption to flourish like I did 4 years ago. But the question is, will you remake yours too? You see, in order to complete a puzzle and create a whole picture, you need individual pieces. Strong institutions may be part of the puzzle, but our individual commitment and actions will create the whole picture. Your individual commitment and action is the missing piece that is needed to complement strong institutions in the fight against corruption and bad governance. I implore you, remake your world with your individual commitment and action. Let's end corruption. Start now, start today. Thank you.
Thank you, Abel. Thank you very much for that very, very powerful message. And a lot of friends that we meet at KDIS are coming from the developing countries, and we think that corruption is a very pressing issue.
Yes, that was an important message on how we can face corruption in the respective countries, in India and El Salvador and all around the world. Well, time flies when you're having insightful speeches about how we can remake our world. So far, we have heard incredible talk that will help us in the future.
So that's true, Michelle. I think now I have a clear idea of how I can have the attitude of resilience to any challenge, any situation that we face in our lives.
Yes, Shahrukh, and also what attitude we should have to fight for what we want, fight for our dreams, for all the goals that we want to achieve one day. And that's something that our next speaker is going to teach us. She's an influencer, model, and singer from Morocco, but she lives here in Korea. Her real name is Ibtissam, which means smile in Arabic. For that reason, she chose Miso as her Korean name. And you know that someone funny, or someone that took my attention, is that in her country, in Morocco, people know her more as King Miso, that her real name, Ibtissam. Yes, so she started her YouTube channel to show the art of war, the beautiful side of Korean culture, language, and people.
Let's say welcome to Ibtissam, aka Kim Miso, with the topic, don't dream it, but work for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for introducing my name. Well, I don't have to introduce my name once again. So as Michelle said, my name is Ibtissam Harakat, and my Korean name is Kim Miso. And I'm a girl from Morocco. Well, hello, everyone. I'm a girl from Morocco, and I choose the name Kim Miso as your name because my real name means smile, and smile in Korean means Miso. But the username, Kim, actually, it was just a coincidence. I tried a lot of usernames, like Choi Miso, Lee Miso, Park Miso, but nothing fits Miso. Like, nothing fitted, only Kim Miso. It was actually a beautiful name, and I feel it fits my personality as well. So that's why I choose my name, Korean name. And as you know, guys, I live in Korea. But before we start talking about our topic, don't dream for it, work for it, let me just give you a brief introduction about me. Who is Kim Miso? Kim Miso, a girl, lives in Korea, and I work as influencer, entertainer, and sometimes model here in Korea. And I became the ambassador of Morocco in 2020 with JIN, Global Influencer Network Entertainment. And I'm really proud of it to be a part of this project and to be ambassador of my country here in Korea. I started working in the media industry when I realized that I really love watching people smiling or laughing while they're watching my videos. Like, I felt warm, I felt butterflies in my stomach, and that's how I decided to start to be an entertainer. Yeah, and that was one of my dreams. So speak of dreams. Before, speaking of dreams, does anyone went to Morocco before here? No one? Oh, really? Where did you go? Casablanca? Tangier, yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah. So as you guys know, Morocco is known with his beautiful colors of each city. And each city has different feelings and culture. You will feel that you're not in Morocco. So yeah, speaking of dreams, we all has dreams, right? When we was young, till now. And does anyone know the real meaning of dream, the word dream? Some people, they will think it's a series of thoughts or image or imagination in our head. Yeah, that's right. It makes us go out from the outside world to our own world. And that make us happy to live the life that we want, to dream about the jobs that we need to want to achieve or want to work. But you will figure out after that it was just a short dream from 100 dreams that we want to achieve in our lives, right? And I'm not saying actually dreaming is a bad thing. It's a good thing to dream. We have the right to dream. It makes us alive. It makes us humans. But why don't we work for those dreams, not only dreaming? So that's what I had in the last years. Miso, you need to achieve your dreams. Don't stay at home thinking, oh, I want to become this, I want to become that. No, you need to work for your dreams. So that's how I decide to move on. Okay, let's talk, when I was young a little bit, let's talk about the past. When I was a kid, I had a lot of dreams, as you guys. Same, you had a lot of dreams when you was young. Some people want to be a policeman, some people want to be a doctor. Some of us wants to be a Superman, I don't know. But when I was young, I want to learn magic, like Harry Potter. Is there any Harry Potter fan here? Oh, Shahrukh and Michelle, okay. So I was really a big fan of Harry Potter, and I thought that Harry Potter is real. And I wanted to learn magic, I want to have power, I want to be me, Kimi, so I want to show the world that, oh my God, I'm a power girl. And sometimes I wanted to be an actress, you know, while I'm watching movies, and I start like standing in front of the mirror, and I say to my mom, Mom, look at me. Do I look good? My mom always like, oh my God, she's making her own word again. I always like wants to be someone known in this world. And one time, and sometimes actually I wanted to visit India to marry my favorite actor, Shahrukh Khan, not Shahrukh, not you. I wanted to marry Shahrukh Khan, not you, Shahrukh. So he was really my role model in this life. I really love the Indian culture. I love the dance, the moves, the songs. I even learned how to speak Indian and start understanding Indian language and start watching movies without subtitles. So my mom, she was like, oh my God, this girl making me crazy. How could you understand this language? I told her, it's love, Mom, it's love. And yeah, but I couldn't go to India. Why? Because I was young at that time. So instead of going to India, I told Mom and family, I want to perform on stages. I want to show people that I can dance, Indian moves or Indian style or Indian culture. So I bought sari, you know, the traditional clothes of India, and I started dancing on stages. And from there, people start knowing me and knowing Ibtissam, not Kim Miso. And back in high school, I know people start knowing me as the Indian girl. Like whenever I walk in the street, they just greet me like namaste, like this. So I was like happy. I was like, oh, that really makes me feel good. And that's how I start dreaming to be an entertainer. From that time it started. I want to be famous. I want to be on TV. I want to show the world my talent. But as you know, guys, I came from an Arab country. Morocco is an Arab country. But as an Arab girl, we're the woman considered as a powerless. We don't have a power. And what I wanted to show to the Arab world and the world, I'm not a powerless girl. As you can see in this picture, I don't know if you can feel the power, but I wanted to show with my face expression and everything that I'm really power girl, even though I'm wearing hijab. And you can see here I was wearing hijab, but I removed it the last year because of medical reasons. And my doctor told me to remove it for now. So that's what I did. But at that time when I was wearing hijab, I wanted to show the Arab girls and the world that even hijabi girls has the right to dream. Even the hijabi girls has the right to travel. Even hijabi girls has the right to work like a man. I don't want to be at home cleaning dishes, watching the kids. No, I want to make my own dreams. I want to move on. I want to travel to another countries. I want to see the world. But still, in our Arab countries, still in our culture, women considered as a powerless. That's a little bit sad. But I started changing it letter by letter. And when I came to Korea, one of my dreams, I had a lot of dreams, but one of my dreams, I wanted to come to Korea to learn the beautiful Korean language. You know, when I heard the language, I just fell in love with it, like 첫사랑, the first love. And I'm a person really love to learn new things. So when I came here, I wanted to learn the language, but I was afraid of something. And my biggest fear was, will Korean people accept me as who I am? Because Korea as a country, not familiar with hijabi girls or with Islam, like religion. So I was a little bit afraid. But the answer actually was yes. Korean people love me as who I am. I received really a lot of help from people that I've never imagined I will meet them in my life. And I'm still friends with them, and I'm still thankful for them to help me to achieve my goals here in Korea. But I started my YouTube channel in 2018. I just wanted to show the beautiful culture to my Arab words, to family. But now we're 1 million family. I didn't know that I would make it till here, but yeah. So people start loving my videos, start loving the way that I talk about Korea. I start showing them that the thing that we see on the media or on TV, it's not true. We need to come here and live and see other people's culture. But it wasn't easy, actually. It was step by step. And when I came here, finally, I met my idols that I dreamed to meet. So BTS, we all know BTS, right? And Ben, the singer, she's a singer here in Korea, and she was the first singer that I met her in Korea and to have an interview with her. She was very nice, and she made me feel relaxed, and she was happy that she has an Arab fans. And after that, I started meeting another idols, like VIV, Card, Teen Top, and even I got like invitation from Busan Comedy Festival as the ambassador of Morocco. And I will tell you a secret, guys. Actually, I'm a comedian in Morocco as well. So yeah, I start my comedy life here in Korea with stand-up comedy in Hyundai with my 선배님 there, the Korean 선배님 in KBS. So they invited me there. I was really happy to meet them, and it was a dream of me. Some of you guys will think that it's not something big, but for me, it's a very big thing. It's a very big experience. It was one of my dreams. And I met Changnara, and I act with her in a drama. Oh my God, how that happened. I was really, really, really happy. Okay, before we continue talking about our topic, I want to say something funny. I don't know if you will find it funny or not. But when I came here to Korea, I remember the first time I arrived to Korea, knowing anything, the language, the culture. So I want to buy shoes. It was a very cold winter, and I wanted to buy shoes, but I didn't know the name of shoes in Korean. So I asked my friend, hey, I want to buy shoes. Can you teach me how to say it? So he said, where do you want to buy it? I heard that people buy shoes in Gangnam. So it was like, okay. So go there. If you see the old lady, 이모, tell her, 이모, 이 신발 얼마예요? So I was like, okay. In 1 hour, I was like literally practicing in the bus. 이모, 이 신발 얼마예요? 이모, 이 신발 얼마예요? But once I arrived, did you know what happened? I told her, 이모, 이 신발 얼마예요? Yeah. You know, 신발 actually it's 18 in Korean. It's not a bad word, guys. It's not a bad word. But I was very shocked the way she looked at me and she was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, what? She was like, you're joking me? You're kidding me? I was like, no, how much this 신발, please? She was like, oh my God, what's wrong with this foreigner girl? And another funny story actually happened to me. When I start learning the Korean language, you know, there's a formal way and informal way. So whenever I meet elder people, 아줌마, 할아버지, like 아저씨, I always talk to them in informal way. Like, yo, 할아버지, what's up? How are you? But they've never like get mad at me or like mocking me or something. Just smile at me and they said, you don't know how to speak in formal way, right? And they teach me actually. I was embarrassed, I was shy, but actually those embarrassed moments teaching me how to become who I am now and teaching me not to be shy or embarrassed of making mistakes. So these beautiful situations that I still remember in my head make me stronger actually and make me grow up. So what I want to deliver here, that don't be embarrassed of falling of mistakes. And the most important thing is be nice to people, because as much as you give, as much as you will receive or more. So at last, what I wanted to say to you guys or to people who are watching me live, don't dream for it, but work for it. Be the change you want to see in this world. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Miso. You know, I always wanted to learn magic like Harry Potter, too. That was my dream.
So, but wait, I have something for you.
Really? What do you have for me?
Now you can learn magic.
Woo, yes, that's amazing. Hogwarts is waiting for me. I'm going to follow my dream now.
Yes, but wait, I have something to tell to Miso. Like, if you want to learn some Indian dance, I can show you.
Can you show me, like
this?
Like, yeah. That's great. You know, but Shahrukh, the most important thing about Miso's speech is that we have to fight for what we want. We have to fight for our dreams, for what we really want, like for all the dreams that we have since we was like little kids. This is the moment to fight for what we want. And also, important, be the change that you want in your life.
That's true, Michelle. And like moving forward to our next performance, and let me please welcome Maggie Chulu Mwansa with a poetry performance, Contemplation on Unity.
I'd like to dedicate this poem, Contemplations on Unity, to my great-grandmother. My world is not your world, is not our world, until the dust settles, the singing birds alter their tunes, another day becomes history. And with the fading of the mighty sun, another night dawns, customary, a seemingly ordinary ceremony of comes and goes, highs and lows. And with it comes that awe-inspiring moment, the one in between the setting of the sun and the appearance of a blackened sky, where nature's lights are dim, her hues subtle, lyrically soft, faintly bright, ever so mellow. A moment of revival. As I feel myself grow smaller, me, a tiny unit in the grand cosmos, silenced and consoled, captive to this coming of age moment, I realize that me is we and I is us. In this solitary place called Contemplation, I reach out, arms stretched wide for an intangible treasure, passed down through yesterdays and yesteryears and yonder centuries, a vision, clear and distinct as the marks on the palms of my hands, passed down from Her Royal Highness, a queen, pride of her tribe, mighty as the Victoria, my great-grandmother. A brazen leader, bold enough to utter, I can because I am a woman. And so, through this poem, I speak to her legacy, to a past that I have met through myself, through my village, through a language as rich as the Copper Belt, and through a history as long as the Zambezi. Through this poem, I transmit a message from my world to your world. A global village with a shared heritage of wandering from mountain to path to cave to sea, and this shared thing called humanity. My great-grandmother sits upon her throne, reminiscing on a past story, her story, history, our story. She, an old soul, morphing into another time, a time that was neither then nor now, but there is hope. She sees a time yet undiscovered, full of chances and possibilities. A forward leap, a leap into the light, years ahead of this present moment. She sees a time full where the fragmented pieces are gathered together. Long gone are the noble groups created for prosperity and exclusivity and disparity, leaving the destitute to pillage over leftover currency. Long gone are the silent voices. Long gone are the emotionally debilitating demands to smile on cue, to clap on cue, for a performative dialogue numb to the needs of many, beneficial to a chosen few. Here are the days. Here are the days when singing, eating, dancing, loving, laughing, breathing are apolitical, where a cultural heritage becomes a global heritage that does not seek to erase but create a shared collective, realizing that we are all each other. And maybe in that small window of opportunity, we may realize that my world is your world, is our world.
That was a very beautiful poem, Maggie. Thank you for that amazing performance. Well, I have really bad news. This is the end of the TEDxKDISchool.
So let me give a minute to thank everyone
Yes.
who is present here. I hope you have found this KDI TEDx School 2021 even inspirational and useful, and that our speakers have made an important contribution in your lives through the stories that have shared.
Yes, the full video of this event will be released later on KDI School official YouTube channel. So please keep your eyes on the channel and spread the word from others to benefit from this opportunity to gain amazing insights. I would like to request for your assistance in keeping social distance while you live in this room. My name is Michelle Erazo.
My name is Shahrukh Jamal, and thank you for spending time with us today.
Yes, and remember that, that you can also take individual actions to reshape your own work. Thank you so much.
If you wish to click pictures with our guests, please be seated, and we have some gift hampers for you outside. Thank you.
Thank you.
We should say yes.